A 19-year-old pregnant college student was thrown into a cell for a crime she didn't commit, and the guards laughed when she begged them to call a doctor. Her name was Amara Thompson, and 3 days ago, she was sitting in her Introduction to Biology lecture, taking notes on cellular respiration and dreaming about the future. She was in her second year at community college, working 2 part-time jobs to afford textbooks and rent for the tiny studio apartment she shared with her grandmother. Life wasn't easy, but Amara had plans. She was going to be a nurse. She was going to give her baby a better life than she'd had. But now she sat on a concrete bench in a holding cell at the downtown precinct, her hands trembling as they rested on her swollen belly. 6 months pregnant, alone, terrified. It happened so fast. She'd been walking home from her shift at the diner when 2 officers pulled up beside her. They said someone matching her description had stolen a purse from a woman outside a boutique 3 blocks away. Amara tried to explain that she'd been at work all evening, that her manager could confirm it, that she didn't even own a purse herself. But they didn't listen. They cuffed her right there on the sidewalk while people stared and whispered. Now, hours later, she hadn't been allowed to make a phone call. Her grandmother didn't even know where she was. And the baby had been kicking all day, harder than usual, almost frantic. "Please," Amara said, quietly, approaching the bars. A female guard sat at a desk 20 feet away, scrolling through her phone. "Please, I need to see a doctor. Something doesn't feel right." The guard didn't look up. "Sit down." "I'm pregnant," Amara pressed, her voice cracking. "I think something's wrong. The baby's been moving too much, and I'm having cramps." "I said sit down." The guard finally glanced up, her expression cold. "You should have thought about that baby before you went around stealing from people." "I didn't steal anything." Amara's voice rose despite herself. "I was at work. You can check. Please, just call my manager. Call anyone." "Save it for the judge, sweetheart." The guard turned back to her phone. "You're not special because you're knocked up. Plenty of girls come through here with the same sob story." Tears burned Amara's eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Not in front of this woman, not here. She returned to the bench and wrapped her arms around herself, trying to breathe through the pain radiating across her lower back. It wasn't labor, she told herself. It was just stress, just fear. The baby was fine. Everything was fine. Except it wasn't. Hours crawled by. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, never dimming. Amara drifted in and out of a restless half-sleep, jerking awake every time footsteps echoed in the hallway or doors slammed somewhere in the building. Around what must have been 3 in the morning, 2 male guards appeared outside her cell. One of them, a thick-necked man with a crew cut, knocked on the bars with his knuckles. "Hey, college girl, heard you're crying about being pregnant." Amara looked up slowly. She didn't respond. The other guard, younger with a patchy beard, smirked. "What, you want special treatment? A pillow? Some warm milk?" "I just need to see a doctor," Amara said, quietly. "That's all." Crewcut laughed. "Oh, you need a doctor. You hear that, Jenkins? She needs a doctor." He leaned against the bars, his voice dripping with mockery. "Let me guess, baby daddy's not in the picture, right? That's usually how it goes with you people." Amara's jaw tightened. "You don't know anything about me." "Don't I?" He grinned. "Young, broke, pregnant, arrested for theft. Yeah, I've seen your type 1,000 times. Bet you thought having a baby would get you sympathy, huh? Bet you thought people would feel sorry for you and give you free stuff." "That's enough," Amara said, her voice shaking with anger now, not fear. "You don't get to talk to me like that." Jenkins laughed. "Huh, she's got attitude. I like that." He nudged Crewcut. "Maybe she's not as helpless as she looks." Crewcut's face faded. "Nah, she's just another statistic. Another kid bringing a kid into the world she can't take care of. taxpayers will end up footing the bill like always. Amara stood up, her hands balling into fists. I have a scholarship. I work 2 jobs. I don't take handouts from anyone. And when I get out of here, I'm going to make sure everyone knows how you treated me. Is that a threat? Crewcut's voice turned icy. Before Amara could respond, a sharp pain tore through her abdominal, so sudden and so fierce that she gasped and doubled over. Her knees buckled and she caught herself against the wall, breathing hard.
Even with baby B, she couldn't finish. Even with that, he said quietly. I'll spend the rest of my life mourning what we lost, but I'll also spend it grateful for what we have. Jordan exists because we existed, however briefly. That matters. Jordan stirred in her arms, making small mewling sounds that meant she was getting hungry. She'd graduated from the feeding tube for most meals, learning to bottle feed like a champ. Marcus took her and started the familiar routine, warming the bottle, positioning Jordan carefully, making sure she didn't aspirate. He'd gotten good at it, the motions automatic now. I've been thinking, he said as he fed their daughter, about what comes next. You need to finish school. Jordan needs full-time care. We both need sleep. He glanced at her. I bought a house, big enough for all of us. Separate wings if you want space, but close enough that we're co-parenting effectively. Nurse quarters for overnight help. Nursery designed specifically for Jordan's needs. She stiffened. You can't just buy solutions. Hey, Jenkins said, his smirk faltering. Is she? She's faking, Crewcut said flatly, trying to get attention. Ignore her. But Amara wasn't faking. Warm liquid trickled down her leg, and when she looked down, she saw blood. Her blood ran cold. Help me, she whispered. Please, something's wrong with my baby. The guards exchanged a glance. Jenkins shifted uncomfortably. Crewcut just shook his head. Nice try. They walked away. Amara sank to the floor, her hand pressed against her belly, whispering desperate reassurances to the life inside her. And for the first time since this nightmare began, she let herself cry. But what she didn't know was that miles across the city, in a penthouse overlooking the glittering skyline, a phone was ringing, and the man who answered it was about to change everything. Marcus Hale didn't sleep much. When you built an empire from nothing, sleep felt like a luxury you couldn't afford. Even now, at 42, with more money than he could spend in 10 lifetimes, he was awake at 3 a.m., reviewing contracts in his home office. His phone buzzed. Private number. He almost ignored it, but something made him answer. Mr. Hale. The voice on the other end was elderly, shaking. My name is Dorothy Thompson. I'm sorry to bother you, but I didn't know who else to call. Marcus frowned. How did you get this number? Your assistant gave it to me years ago when you helped fund the community center in our neighborhood. You probably don't remember, but you met my granddaughter once, Amara. She was just a little girl then, but she shook your hand and told you she was going to be a doctor someday. Marcus's memory flickered. A community event. A shy girl with bright eyes and a gap-toothed smile. He'd been impressed by her confidence. I remember, he said quietly. What's happened? Dorothy's voice broke. She's been arrested. They think she stole something, but she didn't. I know she didn't. She was at work. I've been calling the precinct for hours, and they won't let me talk to her. Mr. Hale, she's 6 months pregnant, and she's all alone in there, and I'm terrified. Marcus was already standing, reaching for his keys. Which precinct? Downtown. Please, sir. She's a good girl. She's worked so hard. She doesn't deserve this. I'll take care of it, Marcus said, his voice like iron. Stay by your phone. He hung up and made 3 calls. The first was to his lawyer. The second was to the chief of police. The third was to his driver. 20 minutes later, his black SUV pulled up outside the precinct. Marcus stepped out in a tailored suit despite the hour, his expression unreadable. He moved through the front doors like a man who owned the building, and in a way he did. His charitable foundation had funded half the equipment in this place.
The desk sergeant looked up startled. Mr. Hale, sir. It's 3 in the morning. Is there something? Where's Amara Thompson? The sergeant blinked. I'd have to check faster. Within 2 minutes, Marcus was being escorted down a fluorescent-lit hallway by a nervous lieutenant. The man was babbling something about procedures and protocols, but Marcus wasn't listening. His jaw was set, his eyes cold. They reached the holding area. Through the bars of one cell, Marcus saw her. Amara was curled on the floor, her arms wrapped around her belly, her face streaked with tears. Blood stained her pants. She looked so small, so young, so utterly abandoned. Something cracked open in Marcus's chest. "Open this cell," he said quietly. "Now." The lieutenant hesitated. "Sir, I can't just—" Marcus turned, and the look in his eyes could have melted steel. "I wasn't asking." The lieutenant fumbled for his keys, the cell door swung open with a metallic clang, and Marcus stepped inside. He crouched beside Amara, his voice softening. "Amara, my name is Marcus Hale. Your grandmother called me. I'm here to get you out." She looked up at him, her eyes blazed with pain and confusion. I know you. You came to our neighborhood once." "I remember," Marcus said gently. "And I remember you telling me you were going to be a doctor someday. Are you still planning on that?" A ghost of a smile crossed her lips, then vanished as another wave of pain hit her. She gasped, clutching her stomach. "My baby, something's wrong." Marcus's expression hardened. He stood and turned to the lieutenant. "Call an ambulance, right now, and get me whoever's in charge of this facility." "Sir, it's the middle of the night." "Do I look like I care what time it is?" Marcus's voice was a whip crack. "A pregnant teenager has been bleeding in a cell while your guards mocked her. If anything happens to her or that baby, I will personally ensure this entire department is investigated from top to bottom. Do you understand me?" The lieutenant went pale. He scrambled for his radio. Marcus knelt beside Amara again, shrugging off his jacket and draping it over her shoulders. "Help is coming. Just hold on." "Why are you helping me?" she whispered. "Because someone should have helped you hours ago," Marcus said simply, "and because I don't forget the people who remind me why I do what I do." Footsteps echoed in the hallway. Crewcut and Jenkins appeared, their expressions shifting from confusion to alarm when they saw Marcus. "Mr. Hale? Sir, we didn't know you were—" "You," Marcus said, his voice lethal. "You were the ones who were guarding her?" Jenkins opened his mouth, but no sound came out. Marcus stood slowly, his height and presence filling the small space. "This young woman begged you for medical help. She told you she was in pain. And what did you do?" "We thought she was faking," Crewcut said weakly. "You thought?" Marcus took a step forward. "You saw a pregnant teenager in distress and decided she was lying. Tell me, officer, what's your name?" "Daniels." "Officer Daniels, do you have children?" Daniels hesitated. "Yes, sir, 2 daughters. Would you want someone treating them the way you treated her?" Silence. "I asked you a question." "No, sir," Daniels whispered. "Then why did you think it was acceptable to treat her that way?" Before Daniels could answer, paramedics rushed in with a stretcher. They carefully lifted Amara, checking her vitals, murmuring urgently to each other. Marcus followed them out, his hand briefly touching Amara's shoulder. "You're going to be okay," he told her. "Both of you." As they wheeled her toward the ambulance, Marcus turned back to the officers. His voice dropped to a deadly calm. "You're both suspended, effective immediately. And if I find out you've treated anyone else in this building the way you treated her, you'll never work in law enforcement. Are we clear?" They nodded, speechless. Marcus walked out into the pre-dawn air, climbing into the ambulance beside Amara. As the vehicle sped toward the hospital, she looked at him with wide, frightened eyes.
I don't understand. Why do you care so much? Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "Because 16 years ago, someone helped me when I had nothing. A woman I didn't know paid my rent when I was about to be evicted. She didn't ask for anything in return. She just said, 'Pass it on someday.' I never got the chance to thank her." Amara's hand flew to her mouth. That's my grandmother." And in that moment, everything changed. The hospital room was quiet, except for the steady beep of monitors. Amara lay in the bed, an IV in her arm, her hand resting protectively on her belly. The bleeding had stopped, the baby's heartbeat was strong. The doctor said she had a placental scare brought on by extreme stress, but with rest, both she and the baby would be fine. Marcus sat in a chair beside the bed, his elbows on his knees, his hands clasped. He hadn't left since they arrived. "I don't remember her ever mentioning you," Amara said softly. Marcus smiled faintly. "She wouldn't. Your grandmother isn't the type to brag about helping people. That's what made it so powerful." He leaned back, his eyes distant. "I was 26, just got laid off from a warehouse job. I had $90 to my name and rent due in 3 days. I was sitting on the stoop outside my apartment building trying to figure out if I should sleep in my car or beg my boss for my job back." Amara listened, her eyes never leaving his face.
Your grandmother lived in the building next door. She was coming home from the grocery store, saw me sitting there looking like the world had ended, and just stopped. Asked me if I was okay. I tried to brush her off, but she kept asking questions until I finally told her the truth. And you know what she did? Amara shook her head. She went back to her apartment, came back with an envelope, and handed it to me. Inside was $800. Cash. I tried to refuse it, told her I couldn't take her money, but she said, "Baby, I've been where you are, and someone helped me once. Now I'm helping you. All I ask is that you help someone else when you can." Tears welled in Amara's eyes. That sounds exactly like her. I paid her back a year later when my first business started turning a profit. She wouldn't accept it at first, but I insisted. She finally took it and told me she was proud of me. That was the last time I saw her. Marcus's voice grew thick. When her number came up on my phone tonight, I thought maybe she needed help. I never imagined that you'd be saving her granddaughter. Amara finished. "I owe her everything," Marcus said simply. "She didn't just give me money. She gave me hope. And tonight, I got to return the favor." Amara wiped her eyes. "I still can't believe you came. No one ever—" Her voice trailed off. "No one ever what?" "No one ever fights for me like that," she said quietly. "My mom left when I was 8. My dad's in prison. My grandmother does everything she can, but she's 74 and barely getting by. When those guards were mocking me, I kept thinking, maybe they're right. Maybe I am just another statistic, another girl who made a mistake." Marcus leaned forward, his gaze intense. "Listen to me. You are not a mistake. And that baby you're carrying isn't a mistake either. You're a young woman working 2 jobs and going to school while growing a human being inside you. Do you know how strong that makes you?" Amara shook her head, fresh tears falling. "You remind me of your grandmother. She raised you by herself after your parents left, didn't she?" Amara nodded. "And she never complained, never gave up. She just kept fighting. That's who you come from, Amara, and that's who you are. Now, I'm going to ask you something, and I want you to be honest with me. What do you need?" Amara blinked. "What?" "To finish school, to take care of yourself and your baby, to not have to work yourself to death. What do you need?" Amara's voice faltered. "I don't even know where to start." "Start anywhere." She took a shaky breath. "Childcare. I'd need childcare if I'm going to keep going to classes, and I'd need to cut back my hours at one of my jobs, which means I'd need help with rent, and the baby needs so much. Diapers, formula, clothes, a crib. I've been trying to save, but every time I get a little ahead, something comes up. The car breaks down, or the electricity bill is higher than expected, or... She stopped, overwhelmed. It's too much. I can't ask you for all of that. You're not asking. I'm offering. Marcus pulled out his phone. I'm setting up a trust fund for your baby. Education, medical expenses, everything. And I'm covering your tuition and rent until you graduate. You'll also receive a monthly stipend so you can quit one of your jobs and actually have time to be a student and a mother. Amara stared at him, speechless. And, Marcus continued, my foundation runs a program for single parents pursuing higher education. We provide free childcare, tutoring, and career counseling. You'll be enrolled by Monday. I can't, Amara's voice broke. Why would you do all this for me? Because your grandmother did it for me, and because you deserve a fighting chance. Marcus stood. But here's the deal. You have to promise me something. Anything. You don't give up, no matter how hard it gets. You finish school, you become a nurse, and someday, when you're on your feet, you help someone else the way your grandmother helped me. Deal? Amara nodded, tears streaming down her face. Deal. Marcus smiled, a rare, genuine expression. Good. Now get some rest. Your grandmother's in the waiting room, and she's been driving the nurses crazy asking about you. I'll send her in. As he turned to leave, Amara called out, Mr. Hale? He looked back. Thank you. For seeing me, for believing me, for everything. Marcus's expression softened. Thank you for reminding me why I do this. He left the room, and moments later, Dorothy rushed in, sobbing and wrapping her arms around her granddaughter. Amara held her tightly, feeling for the first time in so long like maybe everything was going to be okay. But outside in the hallway, Marcus's phone was ringing. It was his lawyer, and the news he was about to receive would turn the story on its head. Marcus answered the call as he stepped into a quiet alcove near the hospital elevator. Talk to me. His lawyer, David Chen, sounded grim. I pulled the arrest report for Amara Thompson. Marcus, you need to hear this. Go ahead. The woman who accused her of theft, her name is Victoria Brennan, and get this, she's the wife of Gerald Brennan. Marcus's blood ran cold. Gerald Brennan, a rival businessman who'd spent the last 5 years trying to destroy Marcus's reputation. They'd clashed over a commercial development deal that Marcus won, and Gerald had never forgiven him. The man was vindictive, petty, and connected. Are you telling me this was a setup? Marcus asked slowly. I'm telling you it's suspicious. Victoria Brennan reported her purse stolen at 6:47 p.m. At 6:52 p.m., Amara Thompson was arrested 3 blocks away. But here's the kicker. I checked the diner's security footage. Amara didn't leave work until 7:10 p.m. She was on camera the entire shift. There's no possible way she could have stolen that purse. Marcus's jaw tightened. Then why was she arrested? The cops relied on Victoria's description. Young black female, approximately 5'4", wearing a blue jacket. Amara fit the description. They didn't bother verifying her alibi. They just grabbed the first person they saw who matched. And Victoria didn't correct them? David hesitated. That's what doesn't add up. I managed to get a copy of Victoria's statement from a contact at the precinct. She insisted it was Amara even after they brought her in, said she was 100% certain. But Marcus, I reviewed the boutique's security footage. The woman who actually stole the purse was white, blonde, completely different build. Marcus's hands balled into fists. So Victoria lied. She either lied or she's covering for someone. Either way, this arrest should never have happened. I've already filed a motion to have all charges dropped, and I'm pushing for a full investigation into the officers who handled the case. But Marcus, if Gerald Brennan is behind this, he's playing a dangerous game. Why would he go after a 19-year-old college student? Marcus asked, though the answer was already forming in his mind. To get to you, said David quietly. Think about it. Dorothy Thompson called you. Gerald probably has no idea who she is or what she means to you, but if he found out you were helping someone in that neighborhood, someone tied to your past, he might have seen an opportunity to create chaos, to embarrass you, to make you look bad in the press if you intervene on behalf of someone accused of theft. Marcus exhaled slowly. He underestimated me. He always does. But Marcus, you need to be careful. If you go after him publicly, this could get messy. It's already messy. A pregnant teenager spent hours in a cell because of his wife's lies. I'm not letting that slide. What do you want me to do? Get me everything on Gerald and Victoria Brennan. Financial records, communications, anything that shows a pattern of behavior. And pull the precinct's records for the past year. I want to know if this is the first time they've arrested someone without verifying an alibi. On it. But Marcus, think about how you want to play this. If you come out swinging, the media will turn it into a circus. Marcus's voice was ice. Then I'll give them a circus they'll never forget. He hung up and stood there for a moment, staring at the hospital's white walls. Anger simmered in his chest, but beneath it was something deeper. Resolve. Amara didn't deserve what happened to her, but now, because of Gerald Brennan's vendetta, she'd been caught in a game she didn't even know she was playing, and Marcus wasn't going to let her suffer for it. He returned to Amara's room, where Dorothy was sitting beside the bed, holding her granddaughter's hand. Both women looked up when he entered. "Is everything okay?" Dorothy asked, sensing his tension. Marcus forced a smile. "Everything's fine. I just needed to handle some business." He turned to Amara. "I have some news. The charges against you are being dropped. Officially, as of an hour ago, you're no longer under arrest." Amara's eyes widened. "What? How?" "Your alibi checked out. The diner's security footage proves you were at work when the theft occurred. The police made a mistake." "A mistake," Amara repeated bitterly. "They didn't even check before they arrested me."
I know, and that's going to be addressed. Marcus sat down. But there's something else you need to know. The woman who accused you, her name is Victoria Brennan. Does that name mean anything to you? Amara shook her head. I've never heard of her. She's the wife of a man I've had professional disagreements with. I don't think you were targeted randomly. I think you were targeted to get to me. Dorothy gasped. You think they went after Amara because of you? I think it's possible. And if that's true, I'm going to make sure they pay for it. Amara looked stricken. This is my fault. If I hadn't called you... Stop, Marcus said firmly. This is not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. Gerald Brennan is a bully who hides behind his money and connections, and he's about to learn that I don't back down from bullies. Dorothy squeezed Amara's hand. Mr. Hale is right, baby. None of this is on you. Amara's eyes filled with tears. I just want it to be over. It will be, Marcus promised. But first, I need to ask you something. Are you willing to tell your story publicly? Amara hesitated. What do you mean? I mean holding a press conference, telling people what happened to you, how you were treated, what you went through. Marcus's gaze was steady. I won't force you, but if you're willing, your voice could change things, not just for you, but for everyone else who's been mistreated by a system that's supposed to protect them. Amara looked at her grandmother, then back at Marcus. And you'll be there? Every step of the way. She took a deep breath. Okay, I'll do it. Marcus smiled. Good, then let's get to work. But as he left the hospital that night, his phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Stay out of this, Hale. You're playing with fire. Marcus deleted the message without responding. Gerald Brennan had no idea who he was dealing with. And soon the whole world would see what happened when someone went after the people Marcus Hale cared about. The press conference was held 3 days later in the lobby of Marcus Hale's headquarters, a gleaming glass tower in the heart of the city. Reporters packed the room, cameras flashing, microphones thrust forward. Amara sat at a table on a small stage, her hands folded in front of her, her grandmother beside her. Marcus stood at the podium,
his expression calm but unyielding. "Thank you all for coming," Marcus began. "I'm here today to introduce you to Amara Thompson, a 19-year-old college student who was wrongfully arrested 3 nights ago for a crime she didn't commit. She was held for hours without being allowed to make a phone call. She was mocked by guards when she begged for medical attention. And she was left bleeding in a cell while pregnant, all because the police didn't bother to verify her alibi before arresting her." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Marcus gestured to Amara. "I'm going to let her tell you her story in her own words." Amara stood, her legs trembling slightly. She approached the microphone, and for a moment she just looked out at the sea of faces. Then she began to speak. "My name is Amara Thompson. I'm a student at City Community College, studying to become a nurse. I work 2 jobs to pay for school and take care of my grandmother. And 3 nights ago, I was walking home from my shift at a diner when 2 police officers stopped me. They said I matched the description of someone who had stolen a purse. I told them I'd been at work all evening. I told them my manager could confirm it, but they didn't listen." Her voice cracked, but she pressed on. "They arrested me. They put me in a cell, and when I told the guards I was 6 months pregnant and needed medical help, they laughed at me. They said I was faking. They said I should have thought about my baby before I went around stealing from people, even though I didn't steal anything." Tears streamed down Amara's face, but her voice grew stronger. "I thought I was going to lose my baby. I thought no one cared. And then Mr. Hale showed up. He fought for me when no one else would. He got me out of that cell and into a hospital. And now I'm standing here because he believed me when the system didn't." She stepped back from the microphone and Marcus took over. Amara's arrest was based on a false accusation made by Victoria Brennan, the wife of Gerald Brennan. Security footage from both the diner and the boutique where the theft occurred proves that Amara was not the thief. Yet she was arrested, humiliated, and endangered. This is unacceptable. A reporter shouted, "Mr. Hale, are you saying Gerald Brennan orchestrated this?" "I'm saying that the timing and circumstances are highly suspicious, and I'm calling for a full investigation into how this arrest was handled and whether there was any outside influence involved." Another reporter shouted, "What do you want to see happen?" Marcus's eyes were steel. "I want accountability. The officers who mistreated Amara have been suspended, but that's not enough. I want policy changes. I want mandatory training on implicit bias. I want safeguards so that no one else is arrested without their alibi being checked first. And I want Gerald and Victoria Brennan to answer for their role in this." The room erupted in questions, but Marcus raised a hand. "Amara has been through enough. We're not taking questions today. But I will say this. If you think you can target innocent people to settle personal scores, you're wrong. And if you think I'll stand by and let it happen, you don't know me at all." He stepped away from the podium, and the press conference ended. But the story had just begun. Within hours, the video of Amara's testimony went viral. Social media exploded with outrage. Hashtags like "Justice for Amara" and "Believe Her" trended nationwide. News outlets picked up the story. Civil rights organizations called for investigations. And Gerald Brennan's world started to crumble. His company's stock plummeted. Sponsors pulled funding. Business partners distanced themselves. Within a week, evidence surfaced that Victoria Brennan had a history of making false accusations, and a whistleblower from the precinct revealed that Gerald had donated heavily to the police union and had personal relationships with several high-ranking officers. Gerald tried to fight back, issuing a statement denying any involvement, but the public didn't believe him. And when Victoria Brennan was charged with filing a false police report, the case against them collapsed entirely. Meanwhile, Amara's life began to change. Donations poured into a fund set up for her and her baby. Scholarships were offered. Job opportunities appeared. Her story inspired others to come forward with their own experiences of being wrongfully accused, and a movement for criminal justice reform gained momentum. 2 months later, Amara gave birth to a healthy baby girl. She named her Hope. Marcus was there at the hospital, along with Dorothy. He held the tiny baby in his arms, marveling at how something so small could represent so much. "She's perfect," he said quietly. "She is," Amara agreed, exhausted but glowing. "And she's going to grow up knowing that people fought for her before she was even born." Marcus smiled. "She's going to grow up knowing her mother is a fighter. That's the most important thing." Amara looked at him, her eyes full of gratitude. "I don't know how to thank you." "You already have. You told your story, you stood up, and you're going to keep standing up, not just for yourself, but for everyone who comes after you." He handed Hope back to her. "That's all the thanks I need." As Marcus left the hospital that day, he felt something he hadn't felt in years: peace. He'd spent so much of his life chasing success, building wealth, proving himself. But in that moment, he realized that the most meaningful thing he'd ever done was show up for someone who needed him, just like Dorothy Thompson had shown up for him all those years ago. And the cycle continued. Amara graduated from nursing school 3 years later, at the top of her class. She got a job at a children's hospital, where she became known for her compassion and her ability to connect with scared young patients. She never forgot where she came from, or the people who helped her get there. And every year, on the anniversary of the night she was arrested, she visited schools and community centers to tell her story, to remind people that the system isn't always fair. But that doesn't mean you stop fighting. It means you fight harder. Because justice isn't something you're given, it's something you demand. And sometimes, if you're lucky, it's something someone helps you find when you're too tired to keep looking. Marcus and Amara stayed in touch. He became a mentor, a friend, and eventually a godfather to Hope. And every time he saw that little girl smile, he thought about the night he got a phone call from an elderly woman who once saved his life. Full circle, that's what it was. And it was beautiful. Amara's story didn't end with a press conference or a victory over a corrupt businessman. It ended with her waking up every day and choosing to be the kind of person the world needs more of, the kind that doesn't give up, the kind that helps others, the kind that turns pain into purpose. And in the end, that's the most powerful story of all.